sets of like a geometry that we are going to generate is like a series of a random cylinder that we are going to create. And then from that random cylinder that we are going to create, we are going to do a couple of different things. One is that we are basically going to evaluate the data based on, so far we just evaluated based on, like, we get the input as a data, and then the output out of it was basically another input data. Now we are going to evaluate the data inputs, meaning that, for example, we get, like, for example, a size of the circle, and this time we're going to evaluate it based on the radius of each of this circle, and then separate the data based on that evaluation. So we are going to basically using a function like a greater than 4 for the evaluating data, and then dispatching data into two separate like sets of data, and doing the extrusion for each of these with different heights. Okay, so let's go ahead and then start by, so I have to go back here. I'm just gonna go and create a new document. So the first of this is going to be creating like a points. So I'm gonna use this points for generating points in a Grasshopper, and I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna set a point in my Rhino. So set 1 point. Going back here, I'm gonna click this part. So now I have the sets of points. I'm gonna create a random numbers. That's the different that we used last time. We just used the series of data. So for that, what do I need? Again, a domain. So I need a domain to create first. So I'm gonna construct the domain, and then for the input of that domain, I'm gonna use 0, and then for the second range, I'm gonna use 30. So one is going to be 0, the other one is going to be 30. Now, once I have that, I'm going to generate a random number. So the random number that I'm going to generate, the range, I already have it from the domain. I'm going to put it in the domain, and I need 10 cylinders. So I'm going to create 10 cylinders here. I'm going to use that for the numbers. And if you want, you can use a different number for a seat. For this specific case, we're going to use 4. So I'm going to use 4. I'm going to put it here. Now I generate random number, right? Now I need to generate 2 sets of random number. The reason is that I'm gonna move things around both in the X direction and Y direction. So I'm gonna copy and paste this once here and then put it here again. So there's 2 series of random number that is going to be generated. For one of them, I'm gonna use the seed number 4. For the other one, I'm going to use the seed number 7. Okay. Now, one of these value is going to be used for the X vector data. So I'm going to type X and bring the unit value, and then connecting the random number to X value here. And then for the other one, I'm going to use Y. I'm going to connect that here as well. So here I have the series of points. I'm going to put the points here, and I'm going to use move, right? The move tools. The geometry will be the points, and the direction will be obviously the X first. Now you see that it's just moving around these points here. Now, since I want them to be randomly placed, I'm going to use the second input here. So I'm going to use another move here. And this time, I'm going to use the geometry, and I'm going to connect them here. So that's going to be the placement of those cylinders. Now, if you remember, because we keep all the previews on, what I have to do is that to see what is the position of all the points, I'm going to go select all the previous component and preview off. So then I go back here. I just see the points that I generated on Rhino. So make sure to turn them off. Now, you select them, and then you right click, and then that's going to be the preview off. Now that I have the points ready, it's just a matter of like creating a circle, right? So for the circle, I can use the same method, meaning that I'm going to use the circle component. It requires me to give me a point as a center. So the outcome of this move will be part of that center. And then right now, if I go back here, you see that all the radius is 1, right? So the radius that you see here is all 1. Now, again, I want to use the random number here. So I'm going to use this whole things that I had before and copy and paste it and then put it here. Now, for the range, I'm going to use the same range that no, actually, I'm going to change that for now. Just going to copy and move it here, and I'm going to create a new domain for myself. So I'm going to construct a new domain. And for the range of numbers that I'm going to give it like a number between 2 and 5. So 2 is going to be the starting point, and 5 will be the end of the range of that domain. So I'm going to connect that to here. So I have the starting point, I have the end point, and I'm going to connect it to the random number generated. And for the seeds, you can use a different type of seeds. You can go for 10. And if I go back here, that's is going to generate a couple of different numbers for me. These numbers will be the radius number for the inputs of the circle. So I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to put it down into my circle. So if you look at back to your screen, you see that you are generating a series of a circle around, all based on the random number. Now, what I want to do is that I want to basically evaluate my circle based on the radius, and then separate them and giving them different extrusion value. So I'm going to use construct arc. So I'm going to double click here, the construct, and it's going to be arc. So the value that I get as an input is going to be this circle. I'm going to put it here, and it's going to give me the radius for all the circle that I have on my grasshopper. Now, I'm going to use the evaluate function this time. So evaluate function, and the input for that evaluate for the x value is going to be the radius, right? So I'm going to get the radius. Now, for the function, I'm going to use the like an evaluation of like a smaller or bigger. So I'm going to use the x value, and I'm looking only for the value that are bigger than 4. So x value bigger than 4. So if I look at the evaluation, what I get out of this, I get a series of true and false now. So last time that we used the evaluation function, we used a value. This time we get it like a patterns of the things that we have. Now it's the time to basically dispatch data based on this pattern that we have. So we are going to use dispatch function. A dispatch function is getting a series of patterns and then separate the list of data that you have based on the data, the input. So my list is going to be the circle. So I'm going to get the list, which is the circle, and the pattern is going to be the pattern from the evaluation function. Now, if you look at here, you see that the input was 21, and then now on my database, the list was 10, and now the data is basically break down into 2 separate groups, 6 and 4. Now, the rest of them is you already know. You are going to use the extrude function, so use the extrude function, and we need 2 of them. I'm going to go start with 1, and then second batch to second. The value for the direction is going to be the z value, right? So we need 2 z value, and then we need 2 slider bar. So I'm going to give one of them value of 5, so on the one that's the top, and then the other one I'm going to give the value of 10. So 2 value. I'm going to connect it here, and then connecting the z value to this direction. Same thing for the other one. So if I go back, you see that I have basically creating that random circle, but then I filter that. It's in many cases, while you are working on, for example, the generating, like using a formula to generate like a numbers, you still need to evaluate those numbers. So it's a very good practice to have like evaluation function in order to do that filtering for the data. For example, you're trying to filter all this negative value out of the algorithm that you have, or the z value out of the algorithm. That's the way of using it, using the evaluation function and then using the dispatch. Now, in order to show that in our canvas, we're going to use the purview again. So custom purview. And I'm copy and paste it here, and then connecting the final result to this. And then we're going to use the color patch, the color switch, and using two different color switch here. One of them I'm going to make it very dark red, and the other one white. So that way I can have a visual, like a view of how this data is basically break down.